After 28 weeks, it all comes down to this. One spot, one race, under the bright lights of Daytona Beach. Who's leaving Daytona with a shot at a championship? Well, that's what I thought until 2311 Racing dropped some big news today, so let's talk about it. What's going on, guys? My name is Connor. Welcome back to Real Talk Racing. So I had like a 17-minute video already made and everything, and it was basically just talking about Blaney versus Truex and pretty much everything about the playoffs, kind of looking forward to the playoffs, just giving you a bit of a preview of what is to come in the NASCAR Cup Series season. And I'm going to be using clips from that video because there's still some stuff that I can use. But this whole Kurt Busch thing with Truex in the playoffs now kind of ruined the whole video. So I kind of have to remake it or just make something new. But anyways, let's get right into this. So earlier this morning, it was announced that Kurt Busch will be missing the first couple races of the playoffs. Thus, he is also going to be giving up his playoff waiver, and he will not be competing in the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs. Instead, that position will go to whoever is next in points. So Martin Truex Jr., as of right now, is the last car in on points. So Ryan Blaney is currently 15th, 212 points to the good. Martin Truex Jr. is currently 16th, 187 points to the good. Then Eric Jones, Eric Almirola, Austin Dillon, and Bubba Wallace are all behind them. Basically, everybody needs to win to make the playoffs if you are not in the top 16 already. Everyone from Eric Jones down is in a must-win situation. And if you're a guy like Martin Truex Jr., you have to make sure that nobody behind you wins. So Martin Truex Jr. is just going to be playing defense all day at Daytona, it looks like. But as of right now, he is in on the playoffs. So originally, I had a whole video with a good 9 minutes or so just talking about Ryan Blaney and Martin Truex Jr., and kind of the battle between them because it looked like only one of them is going to make the playoffs. But now there's a possibility of both of them making the playoffs with Kurt Busch withdrawing his waiver. So now both of them are in the playoffs, and I do believe that this kind of exposes the playoff system, which I'll talk about later in this video. And I do have a whole video dedicated to that anyway. But Daytona is on Saturday night, and as I just said, as of right now, Martin Truex Jr. is in the playoffs, but will he stay there? So my prediction for Daytona is that we will not see a new winner at Daytona. Someone who already has won a race will win again, and Martin Truex Jr. and Ryan Blaney will both make the playoffs. I don't believe Truex or Blaney are going to win at Daytona, and I don't believe anyone below them in points will win. I believe someone who already won, maybe a Kyle Larson, maybe a Kevin Harvick, a Ross Chastain, anybody, someone who already has a win and is locked into the playoffs will win at Daytona. Daytona is very unpredictable, so it's very hard to predict, so I'm not going to give you guys like just a straight up answer of a driver who I think is going to win. Rather, I'm just going to say someone who already has a win this year is going to win Daytona. Daytona is always chaotic, and putting it at the regular season finale makes it even more chaotic, and it's definitely going to do so this Saturday night. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to watch the race, but I'll definitely be keeping up with it live, but it's definitely going to be a fun one to watch. So anyways, there's a little bit of a preview of the playoff standings. I'm going to have a full video of my predictions after the Daytona race, so stay tuned for that. But there's kind of my Daytona preview and a look at the playoff standings for right now. And now I'm just going to kind of give you guys a bit of a rundown of the tracks in the playoffs right now and kind of a preview of the playoffs. And there is going to be a segment towards the end of this kind of talking about the whole playoff system. Some of that might not make sense now because Martin Truex Jr. is currently in the playoffs, but most of it will make sense. So just a heads up for that, this whole segment you're about to watch is pre-recorded from a video I recorded yesterday, which I'm now not able to upload. But anyways, here you go. So I predict Ryan Blaney will join the 16-car field in the playoffs. And speaking of 16 cars, let's move away from Daytona and let's take a look at the round of 16, the first round in the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs. So we started off at 6 p.m. Eastern Time under the lights at Darlington. It should be a fun one. Darlington is always one of my favorite tracks, and you can't get much better than Darlington under the lights at night. It's going to be a great race. I love Darlington. Such a fun track to watch, and this is really going to be a good opener for the playoffs. Then we go out to Kansas. No, Kansas is not a night race this year. We have 2 Kansas Day races. This one is at 3 o'clock Eastern Time on Sunday. The mile and a halves this year have been really good, and Kansas was a great race earlier in the spring. We saw a lot of tire failures, but that problem should hopefully be resorted by the time we visit for the round of 16 in 3 weeks. Then to close it off, under the lights once again at Bristol Motor Speedway. Who doesn't love a good Bristol night race? This race is going to be so fun. So we think this next gen car and the 5 gears compared to the 4 gears they had in the car last year has kind of been a little bit iffy lately on the short tracks. Shifting has really played a major factor into tracks like Richmond and Martinsville, and there hasn't really been a lot of passing because of that. Especially at Martinsville, one of the most beaten and banging tracks out on the schedule. A lot of bumping, a lot of passing, but we just really didn't see that this year. Shifting has kind of ruined some of these short tracks, and it'll be interesting to see how Bristol will play out, because last time we saw Bristol, it was covered in dirt. And that is the final race of the round of 16. Let's move on to the round of 12. We started off with Texas Motor Speedway, a track I don't even really need to talk about. Everyone knows Texas. It's not really the greatest racing out there, but hey, we got to go to it, and at least it's opening the round. At least it's, not the finale or anything. So we go from mile and a half Texas to Talladega. Now, this is kind of the wild card around here. You have mile and a half Texas, and then we go to Super Speedway, Talladega, pack racing, unpredictable. Talladega is one of the most treacherous tracks on the NASCAR schedule. Anything can happen. You can't predict that race. And then we go from mile and a half to super speedway to road course as we go to the Charlotte Roval for the elimination race in the round of 12. I love this. I love a road course in the playoffs. And the Charlotte Roval has been really good over the last couple of years. So the Charlotte Roval is going to be a very fun one, especially an elimination race in the playoffs at a road course. In my opinion, because I love road course racing, it can't get any better than that. 8 drivers will move on to the round of 8, which starts on the West Coast with Las Vegas. Earlier in the year, we had a really good race at Las Vegas, which saw Alex Bowman win. And look for much of the same this year. I believe it is also a day race, so not a night race for Las Vegas this year. 2 day races, even though that track does have lights. So Las Vegas will kick off the playoffs, mile and a half track, really entertaining. And then we go to another mile and a half track with Homestead, Miami, which is probably one of the best tracks on the NASCAR schedule, at least most entertaining mile and a half, in my opinion, besides maybe Vegas or Kansas. But Homestead is right up there. This is going to be the first time we are seeing Homestead with the next-gen car, so we'll see how that car does at Homestead. But last year, we saw William Byron win, so of course I was very happy. And it was also one of the best Homestead races we've seen in a long time. And then finally, to close out the round of 8, to figure out our championship for, we head back to Martinsville for a day race, and it's going to be a lot different. Goodyear's tested multiple different tire compounds to hopefully try to help with the passing at the track. Earlier in the year, that was not the Martinsville that we are used to. But we are coming back later this year, and hopefully it's a little bit better racing than what we saw previously. And then finally, we are heading to Phoenix for the championship race, where the champion will be decided. Last year was Kyle Larson. Who will it be this year? I guess we'll find out soon. So there is your rundown of the playoffs. One more thing I want to touch on about the whole Ryan Blaney versus Martin Truex situation is these guys are both top 5 in their regular season standings. The fact that one of them is going to miss the playoffs is absolutely insane. Like, NASCAR really needs to take a look at this. I made a whole video talking about this. If you guys haven't watched it, you really should. Basically, I think that we should use the playoff system going forward because I like it. Very entertaining. The stage points do actually help. But can we please get rid of the win and you're in system? Like, it just does not work. There are certain drivers right now in the playoffs that would not be there if it wasn't for the win and you're in system. We really should double back on the win and you're in system, because there was a possibility that a driver who's going to finish second in the regular season point standings isn't going to make the playoffs. Just think about that. Let that sink in. That is absolutely crazy. NASCAR, you really need to look back at this. But that's pretty much everything I got today. This was just a bit of a rundown, a bit of a preview of the playoffs coming forward. I do have a video coming out soon giving you guys my playoff predictions and how I think that's going to go. So stay tuned for that. I hope to upload more in the future. So thank you guys so much for watching. This is Real Talk Racing. I'll catch you guys later.